Attention, we'd like to begin. I'd like to thank you all for coming out to our Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission for Monday, October the 18th, 2010. Could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioners Bennett?
Here.
Patrick? Here. Rotfogel?
Here.
Sharkey? Here. President Khan?
Here.
The agenda for the October 18th, 2010 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on Tuesday, October 12th, 2010. Item 2, introductions and presentations. 2A, social service agencies.
And this is part of the effort to give the social service agencies more of a presence in the city and more opportunity to tell us what they do. And we will be sending out emails to all the social service agencies and compiling a list for the year. But in the meantime, the first one is Tim Peters from Door of Hope, and Tim's going to come up and talk about what they do. And I think you have a PowerPoint too, Tim?
At the very end,
okay.
I have something, but I also brought a resident from our current Door of Hope.
Okay.
Well, Commissioners, thank you for this incredible privilege to come and share with you about the Door of Hope, which I'm very excited about. This year is celebrating our 25th anniversary of restoring the lives of homeless families and children. You do have a packet of information, including a brochure and our 25th anniversary brochure and our celebration, which I'll mention at the end. But I don't know if you know about how much the breadth of the homeless problem that we have. Here in the United States, 3.5 million people will experience homelessness this year. 1.35 million of them are children. California had an estimated 8,613 homeless families on any single night in 2009. In 2009, there were 250,000 people that experienced homelessness in LA County. In LA County, right now, there are about 80,000 homeless people. Of those 80,000, families make up about 29% of them. Tonight, 25,000 families and children will be seeking shelter. Actually, tonight, the sad reality is that 21,000 families and children tonight will not find shelter. 21,000 women and children, families and children tonight will have to find shelter in riding a bus that runs 24 hours, trying to go to a 24-hour restaurant, or maybe sleeping on the streets, couch surfing, trying to find somewhere to sleep tonight. Shelter is very important, but yet it's not the solution. Door of Hope is part of the solution to the homeless issues, specifically working with homeless families and children. Our mission at Door of Hope is to equip homeless families to rebuild their lives. Door of Hope our goal is to help homeless families go from homelessness to self-sufficiency to permanent housing. And our goal is to break the cycle of homelessness permanently. We're so much more than just housing and meals. We're a very comprehensive program, including comprehensive case management. We have counseling. We have life skills classes, budget and financing, and a lot more. In 2009, Door of Hope came and partnered with Verdugo Housing Corporation and the Glendale City Continuum of Care programs to be able to provide services to homeless families, including those families that are homeless as a result of domestic violence. You're probably aware the 2010 Glendale homeless count revealed that there were 150 family members that were homeless right here in Glendale this year. On that given night. There are right now about 80 homeless children right here in Glendale. Since 2009, the number of homeless women and children who are homeless as a result of domestic violence here in Glendale increased from 30 to 42 families. 17% of the Glendale homeless count revealed that they were homeless as a result of domestic violence. Door of Hope Hamilton Court Project is a transitional housing program focused on helping 13 women stay in our facility for about a year, where their children and their family are able to receive intensive case management, counseling, child care, employment services, life skills classes, and budget and financing, parenting, healthy relationships, tenant rights, and much more. Our residents receive counseling, which, as referred to by one of our residents, we go deep. We go deep into the lives of the families to be able to help them at the core of their person's brokenness and to get at the root causes of homelessness. Our goal is to break the cycle of homelessness and domestic violence for homeless families, not just for their family, but also for their children, their children's children. We have a comprehensive program on site for the children that is open Monday through Friday, where the children receive a healthy snack. They have games, they have arts and crafts, they have life skills classes, they have homework and tutoring, and then they also have mentors that help walk with them to grow emotionally, socially, and academically. This last year, since Door of Hope has operated here in Glendale, we've had 14 families graduate from Door of Hope and go into permanent housing right here in Glendale. Those 14 families, when they graduate, we throw them a party. We consider it a graduation party, and I love the graduation parties. At the graduation parties, we celebrate the incredible success and the overcoming of the incredible deep hurdles and the challenges that they've overcome. For one mom, it was her teenage son. When they came into Door of Hope, Hamilton Court, he was a cutter. He was trying to kill himself. He was depressed. He wore a black cape over his head and black sunglasses. But today, he is no longer depressed. He has not attempted suicide any time since. He's now in permanent housing with his mom and living a joyful, successful teenage life. For another family, first family I met when I came to Door of Hope Glendale was a mom and a 12-year-old daughter who had escaped domestic violence. And the mom, in tears, said that Door of Hope was a place that was the first time that her and her daughter was able to go outside and to be able to feel safe. She was held captive with horrible abuse within their home, and she shared how her husband was out, would be killing them if he was to find them. But they felt a safe place at Door of Hope and Hamilton Court, and were able to actually transition from our program into permanent housing right here in Glendale. Another family, a single mom with 3 children, graduated from our program after coming to Door of Hope with domestic violence and homelessness, and now has a job and is actually now helping other homeless families rebuild their lives. I could tell you many more stories, but today I thought I'd take this opportunity to introduce you to a current family, somebody that's here right now that is living at Door of Hope and has a similar dream of being able to help other homeless families and children. So I'd like to invite Leah to come on up. Leah has been at Door of Hope for only 3 months, but as she'll share, Door of Hope is now a home for her and her son. Leah, you'll share a little bit?
Hi, my name is Leah, and I am a current resident at Door of Hope, and it makes me feel so good listening to Tim. Living at Door of Hope is so much more than just what Tim is saying. Me and my son moved in July, and my son, the first thing that happened when my son is Gunner, and I have a 13-year-old boy, and he is a very grateful boy, but he also is a very lazy 13-year-old, and my job is the wisdom to know the difference between the two of them. And the first time Gunner walked into our apartment and was walking around, he came to the table in the living room, and he sat down and he looked at me, and he started to tear up in his eyes, and I just looked at him and I said, "Honey, we deserve this. We really do." And he just looked at me and he goes, "Mama, we're home." And this is the little boy that wants to be cool at 13 years old, and we are home. And it's not just home for me, it's home for so many other families there that has become our family too. And the only thing about Door of Hope that I really regret is that I'm going to have to leave. And there's so much that I'm getting out of Door of Hope. The healing that me and my son are receiving right now, the healing between the two of us, because there's so much healing that we have to do together. There's a lot of structure there, but right now with me and my son living together, we need that structure to heal between the two of us. We need that 6 o'clock curfew. We need those classes. He needs that tutoring, that extra tutoring, that because of what he didn't get, because of the structure we didn't have and the stuff that we went through prior to living here. We need all the things that Door of Hope is giving us, the therapy. There's other places that Gunnar can get his therapy. He's chosen Miss Mabel because the way he feels about this woman. I get my therapy through her. I love this woman. Gunnar feels safe with this woman, and we both have chosen to get family therapy. And he opens up to this woman. I love this woman. She was gone for 2 weeks. When I saw her, I cowered and hugged her. And I was twitching too, I think, at that point. But she takes the extra 30 minutes to meet with me beforehand so we can we can talk about before going in with me and Gunner, so we don't just hash at each other. She's so special. And the classes that I get to help manage my money, because I'm not good at these things. These are things that I couldn't work because all the other fears and things that I was going through in my life that I had to go, that I didn't have time. I didn't have time to put through to these other things. I didn't learn these other things. I didn't have time to go through my son. I have a bipolar son that goes to a special school. And my son was in residential for a year and a half. This is a time for me and my son to grow and to bond. And I wouldn't have this if it wasn't for Door Hope giving me this chance. And the bond that my son's having with other children now, to be a child and to be with his mother. This place is so much more than what Tim's giving it. My son is getting his mother back. This is what it's giving me. The women downstairs in that office, I don't leave every day without stopping in and checking with them. I get up in the morning and I'll go for my walk around the block with God and check in and just make sure that everything's in order. And then I go up and wake my son up and start my day. And I can breathe today. You know, I'm alive. I'm starting jet school in January for social work because I want to help other women like this place has helped me. I'm going to school for 4 years. I never thought I would do that at 41 especially. You know, my housing is coming through. God is so good. But you know what? I had to put through the footwork too. And I couldn't have done it without this place. Without the housing specialist there. My housing is coming through, my permanent housing, in only 3 months. This woman has been there for me step by step, this housing specialist there. I just got off the phone with her here. She's there with me every step. And this is only in 3 months. Yeah, I had to do the footwork, but these people have been there for me. In only 3 months. I've been going every day. But I'm going to school. I just got a call about a job. I've been going out looking for a job every day, but it's a numbers game. I know that. But I just got a call back, and they're going to call next week with an offer for me. I just talked to them today when I took back the thing they asked me for, the paper to sign for my background check. They said they're going to call me back next week with an offer. You know, in 3 months, that's a job, that's housing, that's school. And this is all because of this wonderful place. And more than anything, it's that I'm safe and I'm happy, and my son, the most important thing in my life, goes to bed with his head on his pillow at night, safe and sound, and knows he's going to be safe and wake up in the morning to breakfast and cartoons, waiting for that car service to come get him for school. And I can't thank Tim and Dora Hope enough. That's what it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think I need to say anything more. Door of Hope is a place of hope. It's a place of hope and future for homeless families and children, and it's a home. It's a loving, committed community where we help families rebuild and heal and equip them to rebuild their lives. If you want more information about Door of Hope, if you are here, you have a packet, or if you're in the audience, or you're also watching via the TV, we have an opportunity for you to be involved in Door of Hope at a fundraiser. And so this fundraising event is on December the 4th from 5 to 8. If you want more information about this or anything about Door of Hope, we have a website, www.doorofhope.us. That's doorofhope.us. I encourage you to visit the website. And I'm also open to any questions if you have any questions at this point.
Did you guys have any questions?
No, I'll read this, though, for sure. Thank you.
Tim, do you have business cards that you can leave with us, so if we want to contact you?
Yes, I do.
Anything else? thank you very much for coming. That was
Great,
outstanding.
great work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
What is next?
Item 3, commission staff comments.
Any comments, you guys?
I just think that, just the one comment that our decision to put this on as an agenda item, whatever you can do to encourage other commissions to do the same, obviously, but with this one, I think you've hit a home run. You've set the bar pretty high with the organization, this first organization, and I think it's very impressive.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to let the audience know about the Glendale Kiwanis Incredible Duck Splash that's coming up on Saturday. This is an event that's put on by the Kiwanis Club of Glendale, but it allows nonprofits throughout the community to raise funds for their own projects. And then the Glendale Kiwanis Club does give a lot of money throughout the year to various nonprofits. This takes place on Saturday, October 23rd, this upcoming Saturday between 10 and 2 p.m. It's a lot of fun. There's games for the kids and duck races, rubber duck races, and it's a great day. So I just want to ask everybody to come out and see what it's all about and have some fun.
Where is it?
Thank you. It's at Lake Glendale in Verdugo Park. We build a lake, and it's pretty fun. Did I miss anything else, Steve?
There are other activities, I assume?
Yes, there's games and all kinds of activities, and many of the nonprofits have booths so that they can tell the community about what they do also.
Great. Go ahead, George.
If the commissioners are done. We do have, last month I failed to give you all, they've been sitting in my office all this time. This is a brick from the original Adult Recreation Center building with a plaque on it for each one of you who were involved in this. So I will give that to you. And it just says, thank you for your leadership and support in helping this facility become a real part of the community. With much appreciation, Community Services and Parks Department.
Great.
So I will, if Jess will help me.
Stick my sword in it.
Promise not to use them on each other.
Thank you.
We switched. You can have mine.
Beautiful.
These are great. I love it. Sword, I love it.
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
This is a special one. This is really nice.
Reminds me of my fraternity days, but that's another story.
But what a beautiful facility.
A lot of bricks.
I mean, we did get different little trinkets from it, but I think the neat thing is the facility itself really came out real nice. So that's great. Anything else that you have?
Not at this time, no. T-shirts, jackets.
Yeah, exactly. What else can we get?
Item 4, oral communications.
Okay, it looks like we have one card. Onig?
George wouldn't put you on the agenda. You had to put in a card.
Actually, I'm on the agenda later on.
He's like our stepchild.
President Khan, members of the commission, good afternoon. My name is Onig Bolanikian. I'm the supervisor of our Pacific Community Center. I want to talk about our citywide Halloween events that will be happening within the next couple weeks. Our first event will be at the Adult Recreation Center on October 28th for our seniors. We'll be having a special lunch for $2.50, arts and crafts, music, pumpkin carving contest, and a costume contest. Our second event will be Halloween Hoopla at Pacific Community Center between 4 and 6 p.m. We're going to have carnival games. This event, it'll be our 8th event, actually, 8th year working it, and we have almost 800 to 900 students and participants enjoying the carnival at Pacific. This year we'll have our rock climbing wall and face painting, bingo, jumpers, food, and all of our Edison students and the community in our gymnasium, running around and having a good time. And our last event will be Freaky Friday at Spar Heights Community Center, and this will be October 29th between 4 and 7. There's going to be games, crafts, and candy. If you want more information, you can call any of these locations. The number for Adult Recreation Center is 818-548-3775. The number for Pacific Community Center is 818-548-4098. And the number for Spar Heights Community Center is 818-548-2187. And all of our information is being held up by our volunteers. We have our Penguin, Sarkis Arabian. I would like to thank our volunteers. Robert Badalian, Captain America, and Ricardo Fabian. He can be a dentist, coroner, anything. And then we have David Fonseca, who...
the parolee program.
Community service worker. And behind me, Fabiola, our clown.
Oh, cute.
And also Norma Valles, who basically invited all of our guests today to participate. And we have invitations, right? Yes. Norma will be passing out invitations of all our events and a goodie bag.
Do we have to dress
Halloween.
up? Do we have to dress up if we go?
Mandatory.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
And all these events are free except for the meals. They range between $2.50 and $3.
And they're good.
Yes.
More gifts.
Any questions?
You guys have
Hopefully,
questions?
yes. Hopefully, we'll see everyone.
Sounds like a great
After
month.
Not a question about this, but during commission comments, I was remiss in not complimenting your staff at Pacific Park for your help and their help, making sure that the state of the schools came off without a hitch. It was fabulous. I think we finally got that down to a science, and we now know what needs to be done. We were out the night before from setup earlier than we've ever been out, and cleanup was faster than it's ever been, and it largely due to your staff and the great people we have working at Parks and Rec. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we broke a record in cleaning up. We had to get those tot time parents in there.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming out today.
Thank you. We'll
Thanks.
see you.
Thanks, guys. What's next?
Item 5, consent items. 5A, approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held on September 20th, 2010.
Anyone?
Anyone? Bueller? I'll move the minutes.
I wasn't here.
I'll second.
Commissioners Bennett,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Rottfogel,
Aye.
Sharkey,
Abstain.
President Khan.
Yes.
Item 6, business agenda. 6A1, proposed fees and guidelines for temporary advertising banners at the Glendale Sports Complex and Verdugo Skate Park. A, motion to approve the proposed fees and guidelines for temporary advertising banners at the Glendale Sports Complex and Verdugo Skate Park effective November 1st, 2010.
And I'll call Gabrielle Gogli up, who will give a brief background on this agenda item. But in essence, right now, we don't permit permanent signs at the sports complex or Verdugo Park. But we are getting some requests from organizations, and given the tough budget times, it's something we do need to look at and bring to you. Just a footnote, whether you approve this or not, if it gets approved, we still have to run it by the city manager and get an exemption, because we don't allow banners in the city.
Okay.
But we'd like to do that so we can bring in some revenue, both for us and the organizations.
Would
Okay.
it have to go to council then also, or just, okay.
Also, before you begin your presentation, I think this was the item that had some minor changes to it.
Yes.
Could you highlight for us what those were as part of your presentation?
From the one that you received?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I just briefly looked at them, and I think I was told the attorney changed like person to sole proprietor, so it didn't look to me like it was much substance, but just to help everybody.
And he's here to answer any questions if we can. Mike Grant is here.
It was mostly verbs.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I'm Gabrielle Goli. I'm the sports supervisor at the sports complex. And this is a proposal that we brought to you back in the spring of 2010. And the commission liked the idea of the proposal and the fees associated with it. And you had asked us to go back and work with our legal department to go ahead and firm up some of the content, some of the issues concerning content allowed in the banners and some of the rules on how we would be posting these banners and taking them down. So we have met with our legal department on this. The main changes that we looked at were identifying rules and content issues that didn't affect any First Amendment rights. So those were some of the changes from the report back in the spring to what you see now before you. We firmed up some of the rules addressing what kind of text or graphics would not be allowed, what kind of preventing anyone from putting up anything that is would seem harmful to youth. It needs to be appropriate for all ages, is what we were trying to get at for these. The changes that did come between the report that you received with the most recent one, I think the main thing in there was that we changed it to that the Director of Community Services and Parks designee would first take the banners and look at them, and then any appeals over the decision that was made would go up to George for his review and approval. I believe that was the main part of the change that you saw in the one report to the other. The fees for the banners remain the same. We looked at $100 per month for a banner that would be from a local Glendale business. This would be any sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, limited liability company, or entity, however organized, that operates and maintains a current valid physical location within Glendale's corporate limits. So we're trying to give the lowest price per month to local Glendale businesses. And then a non-local Glendale business would be $200 per month to post a banner. And nonprofit advertising would be $50 a month. This is to encourage our local Little Leagues and AYSO organizations to give them a discount to be able to advertise their own activity registrations. And then we have one more, which is kind of a rental space from an approved community youth group. Those are our local Little League and AYSOs. What we're looking there is 25% of the amount that they raise for advertising. So this was to encourage those local youth groups to go out and get their own advertising, bring it back with their groups, and then they give us 25% of what they've raised in order to put the banners up during the month. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the proposal at this time, since there aren't many changes on the fees from the last time we brought it to you.
I was a little unclear as to how things carry over from month to month. Sounds like to me they're renting a space for 30 days? Is that...
Yes. The proposal is that they'll rent the space for 30 days. At the end of that 30 day, they may renew it as long as the banner is in good condition and the content is still appropriate. We can renew it. If there's an issue with the banner where it's torn or looking ragged, then we can ask them to take it down and put it back up, put a new one back up.
Seems to me 30 is pretty short. You're going to have a lot of administrative work, I hope, of people renewing time after time. Why wouldn't you say 6 months?
The main reason for this was to allow, hopefully we'll be getting more of a demand for banner space. We would love to go out and recruit and kind of try and get more banner space from some of our local businesses. So we don't want to tie it up where we can't go and recruit more new businesses to come in. We also have different youth groups that use the fields different times of the year. So we do want to be able to address all of the different youth groups and see that they are able to put up banners during their season only and take them down, and the next group comes in to raise money for themselves.
Well, based on your question, have we thought about having a rate for 3 months, 6 months, or a year for some businesses that would want to advertise to all sports?
We hadn't addressed that at this point in time. One of the things we looked at is most youth groups will probably want to keep theirs up for the duration of their season. We had identified a 1 month period. We could certainly rent to someone for a longer period of time to encourage those to stay up, and as long as the banner remains in good condition, we could definitely leave it up for the longer periods of time.
And then nonprofit advertising, would that include things like the Kiwanis Duck Race, even though they're not part of the Little League necessarily? but they may want to put a banner up. Would that be part of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Could you give me an example of a non-local Glendale business?
A non-local Glendale business might be at the skate park. We sometimes get some requests from out of the state, like Oregon, where it's an MTV television show that they want to advertise, where a skateboarder will be the main character on their TV show, and they ask us to put up banners for a month to advertise their program for skateboard-related television.
Or a product, I would imagine, at the skate park. You know, if somebody wanted to advertise their wheels or their boards or whatever.
Right, if a commercial business located outside of Glendale wanted to advertise their business, be it the product that they're selling, that sort of thing, yes.
Okay. I just was a little confused because non-local Glendale business sounds like it's sort of contradicting each other.
It's non...
But it's a business.
Yes, I see
It's
what
a
you mean.
business that wants to do business in Glendale, but doesn't actually physically reside here.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions?
No, I love this idea.
Okay.
So, in fact, I brought it up a long time ago, and the coaches were very much for it. The leagues, we met with them. We were looking for ways to find revenue, and so this is...
Yeah, I think it's really a sort of a win-win. You see more and more sports arenas changing their name just to get advertising money, and I think people sort of look upon it as that's sort of what people do, and it's also an opportunity for local people to get some advertising. So
Sure.
Yeah, and the guidelines are great, watching
right,
them.
it was clearly the attorney spent a lot of time with this. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Oh, it's great. I'm very happy.
Just the Commissioner Rob Fogel and Bennett's suggestions, what we do look at is 3 months, 6 month with a reduced fee instead of $300 for 3 months. Maybe it's $250 to encourage people to come in at a higher rate. So
I
we'll
mean,
look
the
at
best
that.
thing you can do is like rent the whole thing for a year, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And
And then
just
I think
slightly
this
reduced.
and this becomes very important and when Mark makes his presentations about our grant portfolio, because we do have a subsidy at the sports complex, and we need to slowly move away from that subsidy because it ends. There's some Prop A money that helps in maintenance of the sports complex, so this will help in bringing some new revenue for the sports complex.
We should also look carefully at how this goes to see, is it priced too high, is it priced too low, and then quickly make some changes to whatever.
Yeah, we did that with the Civic.
Right.
Yeah, so we can always do that. This isn't set in stone for a year. So.
Have we looked at other facilities and what they're charging? Is this comparable?
Yeah,
Yes,
there's a note back there.
There's a
In
chart.
fact, it's surprising, most places don't charge.
No, they don't. Many allow the youth groups to advertise
Say
their
most.
programs for free, and that's the only banners that they allow in their
appreciate it.
cities.
Well, this is a compromise with the fees
Yes.
that we.
And the ones that don't take any revenue.
Well, in fact, Crescenta Valley High School, their baseball team puts ads all along the walls during their season, and we don't see any of that. We don't charge them. I know they charge the businesses for it, but the city doesn't see any revenue from that.
Well, it certainly makes a lot of sense. I think we talked about it last time. So, if there's no other questions, are we making a motion here? Is this the motion that was handed to us?
Motion was,
Does someone want to make this motion?
I'll make the motion. Go ahead. I move.
Yeah, I move that the Parks Recreation Community Center Service approve the proposed fees and guidelines for temporary advertising banners at the Glendale Sports Complex, Verdugo Skate Center, effective November 1st, 2010, subject to obtaining required approvals from the city manager.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Commissioners Bennett,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Rockfogle,
Yes.
Sharkey,
Yes.
President Kahn.
Yes. And that included the language that was discussed up here as it relates to
look at that.
the changes.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice job.
What's next?
Item 6A, 2A, proposed department-wide fee schedule. Motion to approve the proposed Community Services and Parks, CSNP, department-wide fee schedule, effective November 1st, 2010.
Okay, and Monique Herrera, our Community Services Supervisor, responsible for reservations and permits, will make this presentation.
Great.
Good afternoon, President Khan, fellow commissioners, and department staff. Recently, the Finance Department had asked all departments within the city to present to them their fee schedules. So at that time, we took this opportunity to gather all of the fees that we have previously had approved through commission and consolidate them into one major list. In the past, if you recall, each section within our department would come to you and propose a new fee increase or a fee alteration, and then each section would monitor their own fees. Well, we would like to put this all into one master list so we have it, and anytime we have any new fee changes or alterations, we can bring the consolidated list to you. All of the fees that are listed in the packet that you have already been approved. The only alterations that we have are for our nonprofit rates. It sometimes rounds off to an odd amount, like, for example, $20.37 or some odd figure. So what we did is we rounded it to the nearest dollar to make it easier for use. At this time, we're asking Commission to approve this consolidated list so we can present it to Finance and maintain it in our records.
So just for clarification purposes, so other than rounding up, we're not increasing fees and we're not decreasing fees?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And now, the ARC fees are new, though, correct?
I believe the ARC brought their fees to Commission before then were approved.
Yes.
These are the same ones.
Do you guys have any questions? Questions? You want to say anything, George? No. Thank you. Okay.
Would you like me to make the motion?
Yes, that'd be great.
I move that the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission approve the proposed Community Services and Parks Department-wide fee schedule effective November 1st, 2010.
And I will second it.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners Bennett,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Popfogle,
Yes?
Sharkey,
Yes.
President Khan.
Yes.
Item 6A3, proposed fees for Glendale Rocks event package. A, motion to approve the proposed fees for Glendale Rocks climbing wall event package effective November 1st, 2010.
And we currently don't have a fee structure for this, and Oni Kulanikian is going to come up and make this presentation. By the way, he's dressed as Jess Duran for a holiday.
173 pounds heavier, though. President Khan, members of the Commission, my name is Oni Bolanikian. I'm the Community Services Supervisor at Pacific. Glendale Rocks, we like the Commission to approve our Glendale Rocks program. Basically, it's the climbing wall. The climbing wall is called out to various special events, such as Cesar Chavez event, Unity Fest, Glendale Unified Schools, any community events or citywide events. And basically, we do not have a budget in our 101 account to fund all of these events. And the Glendale Rocks package will be self-supporting. We would like to charge a small fee to support maintenance costs, staffing, and basically fuel and insurance for the wall. The wall is a 20-foot wall, and I've never been on it. I'm scared of heights. So, but our kids at our community centers in Glendale Unified School District locations really like the wall at their events. We're getting requests every other day, starting in November, December, to have the wall. So we would like to start charging the base event package, 2 staff for 2 hours, wall and safety equipment for $300. We do have a nonprofit rate and a commercial rate. Our nonprofit rate will be approved by the director, by George, if they provide a 501c3 federal tax ID number. And our commercial rate is for private companies that are charging to use the wall. Basically, if there's an admission to use the wall, $5, $10, then we will charge the commercial rate. And then, of course, our standard rate of $300. If the group wants additional hour or two, it'll be $100 That'll cover the staffing expenses and maintenance costs of the wall.
So let me just make sure this is clear and read into the record. So for the charges that we're looking at for fees, the standard rate is $300, and that includes 2 staff for 2 hours, wall, safety equipment. Nonprofit rate is 75% of that, which is $225.
Yes.
And the commercial rate is 150%, which is $450.
Yes.
And then for each additional hour after 2 hours, it's $100 standard, $75 for nonprofit, and $150 for commercial.
Yes. This will also allow us maintenance of the wall, revenue generating maintenance of the wall, maintenance of the truck, and also fuel costs. And this package will only be open to Glendale and La Crescent areas. Basically, we go through a Glendale Unified School District sites, addresses.
Is there a reason why, if it's successful, you wouldn't want to go outside Glendale?
If it's successful, we would like to go outside of Glendale, but we're sort of taking baby steps.
Okay, so you're going to see how it does here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I would also suggest, it sounds like this is sort of a new little service, commercial service that the city has. If this was something a commercial company was starting, they'd have someone, like a salesperson, who would be out pushing this. I'm not sure the city needs to do that, but there certainly ought to be somebody whose pay, to some extent, depends upon how many of these we get sold, I would suggest.
market it.
Yeah.
And prior to this, our former rangers were doing this for free, and it really was costing us a lot of money
Yeah,
to
that's
have
a
this
good idea.
wall out of the special events. And I think this will help defray the cost and potentially raise some revenue for the department that we can use elsewhere.
Yeah, how big an area do you need to set it up in?
The wall itself is 28 feet high. We would need a...
Could people have a birthday party for their kid and put it in their backyard, or is this too
No,
much?
no,
okay.
it won't be, yeah.
Okay, so it takes quite a big...
Yeah, it's a full trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically 28 feet, 20-foot trailer.
I think Steve had a question. Go ahead.
Couple of questions. One, how many times a year is this are we doing it now? Approximately. Do we know?
Special events in Glendale Unified sites, over 25 times.
And then, now, do these rates include delivery?
Yes.
So if we were to expand it, we would have to charge more for delivery?
Yes.
And then last question, something like the Unity Fest or a site, do we charge them at the nonprofit rates? Do we not charge Unity Fest, but we charge the schools? How are we doing that?
We do charge back. We charge Unity Fest, but there's an account for that.
An accounting?
Right.
Okay.
Right. The schools, I think, do get charged, or they will at this point. It's not part of the joint use agreement. The joint use agreement allows for them to use our facilities during the day if we have staff there for free, and vice versa. But anything above and beyond, they have to pay for, or we have to pay for.
They would pay the $225?
Yeah.
How is that going to impact the schools? Do we know?
I don't know.
If I can add, President Khan and Commissioners, the schools in the past have had it for free, but this is of its own account. It must be a self-supporting unit. We've had a few calls from some of the PTAs, and they would like to have the wall. And they realize that they're going to have to pay for the event and the staffing of it now because it has to be self-supporting within itself. There is no funding for us to go out free.
So it's really not the schools, it's really the PTAs and the booster clubs that are renting it, not the actual physical school.
Most likely because it seems where they're the ones helping organize the events at the school.
Okay.
A school could ask us for it, but we would have to charge them the rate. Our own events, we would have to back charge the staffing and everything because it has to come from somewhere. That's why Unity Fest or Cruise Night.
Yeah, and the other option for them is they can actually charge $1 or $2 to go up, per kid, and raise some money that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's relatively inexpensive for something this big, but
Yeah, right. I just wanted to make sure, I have less problem with it being something that the PTAs use for a fundraiser versus Franklin Schools having a celebration and the school itself is going to be paying for it.
Right. And there are times when they'll ask us to waive it, and we've done that with, for example, the college fair at the Civic Auditorium, where they technically should be paying for it, but we end up eating that cost, and it's about $750 every year. So there are times when we will waive it if there's kind of a hardship for the school. And then just to answer one other question, going beyond Glendale, we do have an issue with part-timers. We have 1,250 hours. They can't work beyond that. So if that impacts the part-time staff and how many we hire, that may have an impact on how far out we can go with it.
And do you currently have commercial groups that use this, or is this in?
No, this is a first-time request for a commercial. The requests that we get from the Glendale Unified, most of them have been PTAs and booster clubs
Yeah, so they would be
for
nonprofit.
their fundraising.
I'm fine.
You guys okay?
I'm good.
Like you said, these are baby steps, so we're just
So-
starting out here.
If we make a motion and adopt this, then this fee will go into our last item. So we'll now have everything consolidated? Yeah. Okay.
I move it.
I'll second it.
Commissioners Bennett,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Brotvogel,
Aye.
Sharkey,
Yes.
President Khan.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, motion rocks.
Thought that was
Glendale rocks.
Can we fly a banner on that now?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm next on the agenda, so I can.
I was hoping you were just going to sit down, but I understand
Don't
now.
sit down.
Yeah, don't sit down yet.
Or change your costume.
Item 6A, proposed fees for Party on the Go Party Package. A, motion to approve the proposed fees for Party on the Go Party Package effective January 1st, 2011.
Okay, members of the commission, once again, my name is Onig Polonikian, supervisor of Pacific Community Center. The Park and Play program has been around since 2001. It's a mobile recreation program where we have staff, they visit Glendale Unified sites, mini parks, and other park facilities throughout Glendale, and basically have activities, provide activities for the kids. We've had many requests in the last year or so to reserve or have the Park and Play truck available for reservations for private parties. So Pongo, which is Party on the Go party package, would basically, excuse me, let me get my paperwork here. Would basically provide 2 staff members and 6 games, 6 activities for a minimum of 2 hours for $300. It's basically $150 an hour. And we can go to City Park, Glendale Unified Site, private residence. Now we just want to reserve the Park and Play package for city sites and Glendale Unified sites. But in the long run, we'd like to open it up to private residences and private parties. It'll be $300 for 2 hours, and we'll have our employees conduct activities, play games with the kids, exercise, and if they want, popcorn machine, shaved ice machine, button makers, or other activities for additional charge. We do have the charges on our salary schedule. Not salary schedule, on our fee schedule. Party on the Go will be available on Saturdays and Sundays, so it doesn't conflict with our regular Park and Play schedule, which is Monday through Friday. And our fiscal impact, basically, it'll be self-supporting. It'll come out of our 501. It'll generate some revenue, but our revenue will offset staffing costs, maintenance costs, fuel costs, and maintenance of our truck. It'll be basically 501 generated. We do get requests, just like the climbing wall, to participate in our citywide special events like National Night Out, Unity Fest, Cesar Chavez events, and this will offset most of our hourly costs.
I had a question just real quickly before commissioners have questions for you. You said that this is $150 in the report. It says basic party package, 2 staff and 6 games, activities for 2 hours, up to 12 children for $150. But you just told us it was $300.
Yes, it'll be 300 for a minimum of 2 hours. That's a mistake.
Okay, so that should be just like the last one we went
Yes.
through. It's the same pricing, $300,
Yes.
$225, and then $450.
Minimum of 2 hours, yes.
Minimum of 2 hours. Okay.
And that also has a nonprofit rate and the commercial rate too.
So
Right.
this is an hourly rate that we're
Hourly
looking at.
But there is a minimum of 2 hours by the time we get, the staffing, we hire the staffing, and not hire, we schedule staffing and, site visits. It includes the site visit, staffing, and all the equipment, maintenance equipment.
I thought your last one was clearer. So to
Yeah,
say
this-
$300 for the 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a little confusing because
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
realize that was an hourly rate either.
This seems to have even more potential than rock climbing. A couple things. One is I'd also encourage you to have a marketer to make sure people know about this. Also, would seem to me, not to start with, but maybe eventually team with a commercial establishment. And the company that comes to mind maybe is somebody like Porto's. So they would have the birthday cake and the donuts, and they would add their name, and it would be quite a bigger thing. Eventually, maybe.
You're not promoting Portos, right?
Well, no, but I mean, to add, put the team with a Glendale company,
Sure.
Yeah.
We also, excuse me, I'm sorry. We also did a research, Burbank, Pasadena, and Santa Clarita, and we are cheaper than our hourly rate, or our package is cheaper than Glendale and Burbank.
So
they
they-
have activities, but we move the entire truck, the park and play truck to the facility and set up our equipment and basically the other additional services that we can offer, such as the button maker, the carnival games, popcorn machine, snow cones, etc.
All things at cruise night.
Yes,
up
cruise
there.
night.
So if you've seen
Yeah.
it at cruise night, then
Yeah, they work almost every special event that the city has.
Would this be something that we would make available eventually, possibly, to like the Gigi's Farmers Market or the Montrose Farmers Market? And then, if so, how do you figure the per child cost on doing that? I mean, it would have to be something. It would have to be a different
we'd
schedule.
really have to look at that.
Because they are, I mean, Montrose, for instance, they have the jumpers every week.
Right.
And maybe doing this on the other end, it would be another way to market it, possibly.
We'd probably have to set up maybe another fee schedule where it's just per child, allows us to charge per child for per face painted or something like that. But
Our costs are per child on a lot of the little activities that we do, but when we do some very large events, we have to basically prepare for a large event. So that we would take into consideration as we plan for something larger.
we'll have to deal with it.
It would not go with the per, it would go as an event as a whole.
So maybe eventually, if this works out, we look to another way to look to expand it is to events like that, and maybe we come up with an additional fee schedule at that time.
Yeah, we may find that the commercial rate may not be enough in terms of the amount of work we do, but
Right.
we'll see.
Sure.
Yeah.
You guys have any other questions?
I do not, except to say that staff and these events, they're always incredible. They're most of the fun.
Especially our concerts.
Oh, yeah, the concerts are great. The enthusiasm is infectious.
Do we have a motion?
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, the only thing I'd like to add is if we could use the same type of fee structure as we did with, I guess it was Glendale Rocks, just so it's consistent.
Make it clear, yeah.
Yep.
If I can add that to your motion.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Of course.
Commissioners Bennett,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Rottfogel,
Yes.
Sharkey,
Yes.
President Khan.
Yes.
Thank
Now
you.
you may sit down.
Thank you.
Are you sure?
He might have something.
We'll see you October 28th and 29th.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you very much.
Go.
Item 6B1, under reports for information only, summer aquatics program evaluation.
Call up Courtney Maglio, who is our Community Services Coordinator, to give this report.
Good afternoon, President Khan, members of the Commission, city staff. My name is Courtney Maglio. I'm the Community Services Coordinator for the Community Services and Parks Department, and I oversee the Summer Aquatics Program. This year was the 11th summer that we offered the aquatics program at the high school sites. We operated at all 3 high schools, Glendale, Hoover, and Crescenta Valley. We offered recreation swim, instructional lessons, community swim team, community water polo, junior lifeguard program, as well as operated 5 wading pools. We had a little over 10,000 participants in the recreation swim program at all 3 of the high school sites. We filled over 3,000 lesson spaces for swimming lessons. So those are duplicated kids, so we can't say that it's 3,000 kids, but it's over 3,000 spaces that were full. We had 88 kids on our summer swim team. We had about 25 kids on our summer water polo team, 17 junior guards, and 49 aquatic staff members. And one wonderful thing for the program is we started doing reservations just recently for the wading pools. Last summer we had 24 reservations. This summer that doubled to 48 reservations from May through October. So that in particular is extremely popular.
And the weather wasn't so hot.
That concludes my presentation. I was told to be brief.
That was
Seemed
great.
like you had some momentum going.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it was. That's okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
Did you? Go ahead.
I'm not going to let you get away that easy.
Okay.
Can you just explain why the session D is 1 week and the rest of the sessions are 2 weeks?
Sure. We utilize a schedule given to us by the high school sites, and so the most ideal thing is for us to offer 2-week sessions. This year, halfway through session C, we were given some additional pool time. So as opposed to wasting that additional pool time, we added some lessons during that second week of session C and called it session D in order to maximize usage for the community.
Okay, I see what you, all right, thank you very much.
Why do you think the wading pool rentals were so much higher this year than in previous years?
Probably because of word of mouth. I have people who have continuously rented, but I also have people calling saying, oh, I went to a party last year for my friend's son and I want to do it this year. It's a great idea. So either people participating in the parties or friends telling them about it. I think it's just spreading. It's a wonderful thing.
When did we implement the fees for the rental for the wading pools?
Just prior to last summer.
Okay, so it's catching on.
That's great, and if you consider especially the summer, except for, 2 weeks ago, we had a week of real heat. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been a hot year.
No, but it's been
Nice.
nice. Yeah, exactly, and good for toddler ages.
It goes back to, and this is a little side note, it goes back to what Commissioner Bennett said about us being able to promote some of these things. It certainly sounds like there's an opportunity out there that if we could get the word out, such as this, we'll get more business, more activity, and more interest in everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how we do that, but that's a good idea.
Well, right, not indecent marketing, right?
Yeah. Well, as you said, if we were a business, we would have an advertising budget and we would do marketing, and unfortunately, we don't have an advertising budget. So maybe we'll have to carve out a little bit to do that.
That would make sense.
Get the word out so that we can bring money in. So you spend a little bit of money to bring more money in. So that
Investment.
Yeah,
Sure.
that makes sense at this point.
Great. Any other questions, you guys? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maybe we can give it to Mark to do. He's not busy.
Item 6B2, grant portfolio update.
Did you say give it to Mark to do? He doesn't have enough to do?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, just to introduce this item, and Mark will talk about our grant portfolio. But as you know, historically, the city has gone after a lot of county and state grants and federal grants, and we've been very successful at it, and we currently maintain about a $9.5 million portfolio. So without some of this money, our capital projects, we wouldn't have as many capital projects as we currently do. So we do go after them aggressively. And the nice thing about Glendale is we have matching money that we can always use in that process. So it gives us a leg up, I think, in some of the application processes. So with that, I'll ask Mark, who is our grant writer extraordinaire and our, I guess, our portfolio manager at this point, right, Mark?
Well, thank you. My name is Oleg Bonalikian. No, I'm Mark Sturdivant, Commissioner Khan, members of the Commission. I'm Mark Sturdivant, Senior Administrative Analyst for the Community Services and Parks Department. And perhaps the most significant responsibility I have in the department is administering our grants program. And about once a year, I like to come before you to bring you up to date on what we call our grants portfolio. And if you could bring up the PowerPoint. Well, there we go. This is our grants portfolio. As you can see, we currently administer about $9.5 million in grant funding. And if you add in the grants which are not exclusively ours, but on which we have collaborated and from which we benefit, such as the PLACE grant with the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition and the California River Parkways grant with Northeast Trees, the total amount of funding is over $11 million. This funding comes to us from a number of sources, including California State Parks for our Proposition 40 grants, the Los Angeles Regional Park and Open Space District for our Proposition A grants, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy for what are called local assistance grants, the federal government for the Recreational Trails Program, Caltrans for our community-based planning grant, and the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health for the PLACE grant. And I'd like to take a moment to go over some of the more recent grants that we've received and bring you up to date on the status of some of our grant-funded projects. We currently have funds from Proposition A and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy presently going toward the seismic retrofit of the La Mesnage barn. And the total amount between the two grants is nearly $1.5 million. And as you can see by the photo in the upper left-hand corner, this project is currently underway. And it's the first critical step in making the barn safe for public use and perhaps one day turning it into an interpretive center. And this particular project is entirely grant funded. Proposition A is also providing funds for Phase 1 of the Glendale Narrows Riverwalk project. As you know, this project will provide nearly a half-mile of multi-use trail as well as 3 small parks along Glendale's portion of the LA River. And we're in plan check on this now, and we expect to begin construction on Phase 1 a little bit later this fall. One of the grants that has been getting a lot of attention lately came to us from Caltrans, and this grant funds a master planning study for phases 2 and 3 of Riverwalk. The second phase of Riverwalk will run from Flower Street to the Verdugo Wash, and of course connect with phase 1 to give us nearly a mile of riverfront amenity. This grant also funds the planning for phase 3, which deals with the possibility of placing bridges over the Verdugo Wash and the Los Angeles River to connect Riverwalk with the North Atwater neighborhood of Los Angeles and, of course, with Griffith Park. The Recreational Trails Program grant provides us with funds for our first ever ADA accessible outdoor recreation trail, which will circle a portion of the Glendale Sports Complex. Because this trail will provide access to users who otherwise would not have had a chance to experience an outdoor hike, such as the disabled, seniors, or the very young, we call this project the San Rafael Hills Mountain Dew Trail. We plan to combine this project with grant funds that we received from Supervisor Antonovich last year, and this will pay for what we're calling an intermediate level trail around the sports complex. We've named this one the Catalina Verdugo Trail in honor of one of our region's earliest residents. And we're in the planning stages on these 2 trail projects, and we hope to be in construction on them sometime next year. The Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy is also providing us with funding to study the feasibility of creating a youth-oriented overnight campground in the city of Glendale. And we've been spending a lot of time combing our open space, looking for possible sites in the Verdugo Mountains, the San Rafael Hills, and of course in Duke-Magian Wilderness Park. And we'll also be holding community outreach meetings on this project, seeking input from the public about where we should put those campsites. We'll be doing that before the end of the year. And by the way, if you've got any ideas about places up in our open space where you think a campsite would be appropriate, please let us know. The Place Grant is a collaboration with the Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition, and it's providing funds to help make Glendale a safer and friendlier place to walk and ride a bike. And critical to this effort is the creation of the Safe and Healthy Streets Plan. This is a policy document that deals with what's referred to as the 5 E's: education, encouragement, enforcement, engineering, and evaluation. All of the elements necessary to make Glendale residents healthier through walking and cycling. And the Safe and Healthy Streets Plan will come to several city commissions in the next couple of months before finally making its way to City Council. And I believe we're scheduled to bring it to you next month, so be checking your packets for the Safe and Healthy Streets Plan. We'll also be holding community meetings on October the 25th at the Central Library and on October 27th at Spar Heights to gather input on the Safe and Healthy Streets Plan. Of course, you're all aware of the Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation, which had the spectacular Art from the Ashes fundraiser earlier this year. Well, special events are not the only way the foundation will be looking to raise funds for the department. Because of its nonprofit status, the foundation is eligible for certain grants that the city is not. And these grants can be used to supplement existing city projects and programs or to create new ones. So we look forward to working with the foundation's board of directors, including Commissioner Sharkey, in identifying potential projects and new grant funding sources. And I should also add Commissioner Patrick as well. What's next? We have 2 important grants that the applications are currently pending. The first is the statewide park development program, which comes to us via Proposition 84, which the voters approved back in November of 2006. It's the most important park funding program we have at the moment. There are 2 rounds in this program, each of which will provide $184 million for park projects statewide. For round 1, we submitted an application earlier this year in the amount of $1.8 million for Maryland Avenue Park. And we expect to hear from the state in the next couple of weeks as to whether we've been awarded this grant. We feel we have an excellent application, and we had a very productive site visit from State Parks earlier this summer. But the state has received over 500 applications for this money, accounting for nearly $1 billion in funding, and they have only $184 million to give away. So this one is going to be highly competitive. And unfortunately, a lot of good projects are going to go unfunded. But we've got our fingers crossed, and we will keep you posted on this one. Also from Proposition 84 is the Nature Education Facilities Grant Program. This program provides 1 round of $93 million to create new and enhanced nature education facilities in the state. We've applied for $2.8 million to finish the work on the La Mesnager barn and turn it into an interpretive center where people can go and learn about the ecology of Duke-Magian Park and the San Gabriel Mountains. And we should know about that award by the end of this year. And by the way, Proposition 84 is the last parks-related bond measure that we have. Over the past years, we've had a really nice run with voter-approved park bonds, such as Prop 12, Prop 40, Prop 50, and Prop 84, but there is no new parks bond on the horizon. So this is going to be a challenge to us to look for park funding from new and different sources as we move forward. Before I take questions on these, George had asked me to also talk to you a little bit about the Proposition A maintenance and servicing grant that was mentioned earlier this afternoon. This is actually complex topic that could probably take on a presentation all its own. But in summary, the voters of Los Angeles County passed two park bond measures, both called Proposition A, one in 1992 and the other in 1996. And one of the benefits of those measures was that they did something very unusual. In addition to providing money for acquisition and development of parks and recreational facilities, they also contain provisions to fund maintenance. So each year, the county makes a benefit assessment in Glendale based on the amount of property taxes that are paid here, and they place that into an account. And historically, this has amounted to between $180,000 and $190,000 per year. This program began in 1993, and for the first 6 years, we deferred those funds and allowed them to accumulate. Now, over the past 10 years, we have been withdrawing funds from our account at the rate of about $260,000 a year. This year, we reduced that amount. We took only $175,000. The key element of this program, and I think the thing that I want George to emphasize to you looking forward is this. Money from the 1992 Prop A account will run out in 2015. And money from the 1996 account will run out in 2018. So the challenge for us over the next 10 years or so will be weaning ourselves off of our Prop A money and establishing a situation under which we can pay for the maintenance of the sports complex without the help that we're currently getting from Los Angeles County. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
You guys have questions?
What a challenge.
Just on the Prop 84 money, it's very competitive, but do you feel that either one of those projects is more likely to get funding, for instance, the barn, over the other, or you just have no idea?
I really don't have any idea. I haven't been given the information about how many applications or how much money has been asked for in the Nature Education Facilities Program, so I don't really have a way to measure the competition. Again, I think our proposal to the state for the La Mesnage Interpretive Center is really strong. One of the things we emphasized, because they were looking for projects that were unique, and we told them that this interpretive center would be focusing around the idea of fire ecology and fire recovery, given the fact that the park was burned in the station fire last year. So we think that sets our application apart, makes us different from a lot of the other applications that they may be receiving up and down the state, and we hope that puts us into a good position with them.
Plus, I think that it would be a regional draw. I'm not sure there's another one like it.
Yeah, we don't know of any that's specifically focused on fire recovery and the sort of the urban wildlands interface and the issues that are raised from that kind of thing. So we think we carved out a nice niche for us in this one, and we will see what happens. They say they'll let us know in December.
If it is approved, based on the way we're going to move forward, would we then go to the national parks and to our fire department and have them give us input on how to put together the interpretive center?
I don't know that we would go to our fire department. I mean, I guess we could. I would defer to my colleague Dave Ahern on how we might approach that from the interpretive side.
We would. We have in the past worked with some consultants that design these facilities, so we have some concept level planning for that. It wouldn't come through the fire department. It would come through more of a park ecology, naturalist, botanists, geologists, things of that nature. And so we've got some prelim work on that done already, and we really hope to get that up and going and get that to be part of a larger program up there that includes docents, the park naturalists, the schools, throughout the whole city, not just the northern portion of the city.
Mark, I had a question for you. You said that the maintenance, or I don't remember which Prop A, is that Prop A?
It is.
The maintenance funds Prop A run out in 2015.
There are two Prop A's, and there are two Two accounts. The first Prop A, which is 1992, accounts for 62% of the funds that we get from the county to maintain the sports complex.
Yeah.
The second Prop A, which is the 1996 Prop A, is the remaining 38%. So almost two-thirds of it will go away in 2015, and the rest of it will go away at the end of 2018. Now, if we don't take all of that money out of the account, it will stay there as long as we as long as we don't utilize all of it. It's not like they suddenly take the money away from us, but they will not be adding any more funds into the accounts after 2015 and 2018.
Okay, and I guess the questions that I had was really two. One is what are we looking at doing so that when 2015 or 2018 comes, that we can fill that gap? Is there stuff that we should be doing now other than just raising some fees at the park? And then the second thing is related to your comment about grants, that these larger grants are no longer being placed on, I guess, on people's voting registration. So what are we looking to do? Where are we looking to go for that kind of money as well?
Well, let me take the second of the two questions first, and then I'm going to defer to George on the first question. With regard to the fact that there is no large new bond measure out there on the horizon, we will look to any and all potential funders that we can find. One of the things that's happening is that the attention that historically had been placed in bond measures on parks is now being placed on water, and we will have a number of opportunities to do things related to the LA River. We will have a number of opportunities to do things in parks that have multiple benefits, so that they're not just there for recreation, but they're there for water capture and groundwater recharge and the cleansing of the water and all of those kinds of things. So it's going to require us to be a little more creative, since there won't be the obvious park build a new park kind of bond that we've been accustomed to over the last few years. But I'm confident that looking at water-related measures, transportation-related measures, and other funding sources, that we will still be able to bring in a significant amount of resources to continue the work that we're doing.
For example, the potential pedestrian bridge for the LA River could come from Measure R money, which is transportation money.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. We have been talking for the last several years about a bridge over the Los Angeles River, a bridge into Griffith Park. Residents not only in Glendale but also in the North Atwater portion of Los Angeles can look across to the largest urban park in the country, but they can't get there unless they get in their car. They can't walk there, they can barely bike there. And so the idea of a bridge that would allow access to Griffith Park for Glendale residents and North Atwater residents is something that we've been talking about for a long time in the Parks Department. It suddenly has a lot of traction now, and we have just begun collaborating with our colleagues in Public Works. They have access to transportation funds, most specifically, as George just mentioned, the Measure R funds. That's the county sales tax fund that was passed a year and a half ago. So those Measure R funds could be used for this bridge. They could be used for Riverwalk. They could be used for any number of things. So we just have to become more creative going forward in terms of where we seek funds for parks.
I think the other important partnership is going to be with the Parks and Open Space Foundation, where maybe we work in partnership and we write some grants to foundations for some of those capital projects that may serve low-income areas, that type of thing. So we can look, there are certain buzzwords in the foundations, things that they're looking to fund. There may be a possibility to work with the foundation. There are foundations that won't fund city projects, but they will fund nonprofits or that type of thing. So it's just a matter of getting creative, as Mark said.
Okay. And then to answer the first part of your question, I think George and Joanne are probably better equipped to answer that than I am. One of the things certainly we are looking to do is reduce the amount of funding we take out of our maintenance and servicing account each year. This year it was $175,000. We haven't had an opportunity to sit down and look at what next year is going to be, but I'm sure that Joanne and George and Gary are talking about what we can do to reduce the amount of costs that are necessary, increase the amount of income that the complex is creating, and maintain those funds that we do have for as long as possible.
Yeah, and we have a plan. We started some of that last year when we increased the fees over at the sports complex. They're still comparable or competitive to folks other areas, but we did increase the fees. We we'll have to look at weaning ourselves off of it, including maybe even raising the fees a little bit more, tournaments, more money, revenue-generating ideas for the sports complex, such as the signs. But we'll be fine because our enterprise account, which is our enterprise account, had $200,000 in it in the reserves when I got here. It is up to $2.5 million now. So we're making money in the classes, the leisure guide, the classes that we provide, the Pacific Park, the rentals. So we're pulling in money from other areas. So I think we'll be okay. But the sports complex is almost there in terms of self-sufficiency. Right. So we'll make it.
We cut back down on our watering. We've become a little more landscape conscious. Our utilities, unfortunately, have gone up, the cost of the lighting. So the utilities have kind of taken us up above where we wanted to be. But we're on a path where we're trying to eliminate as many costs as we can.
Sure. Okay.
If we don't take the money that the state has for us, is that money stagnant, or does it earn interest?
Are you talking about the county Prop A funds?
Yeah.
Maintenance and servicing funds?
Yeah.
We earn interest on that every year.
Okay, good.
Yeah, which is
it's
a 0.25%, right?
But it's better than, 0.25%. I'll take 0.25% on $1 million.
Yeah. No, we do earn money on the amount that is in the account each year.
Do you also see any type of change as it relates to, you said that most of the bonds now are for water, but if you project out 5 years from now or 3 years from now or whatever, do you see that priority is going to shift?
I would hope so, but I'm a parks person, so I'm always optimistic about that. I have not heard of any potential new parks funding down the road. Now, that may change at some point, but at the moment, I have not heard anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Item 6B3, monthly activity reports. A, Park Services.
Commissioners and President Sharkey, President Khan, excuse me.
Why don't we start over there?
Commissioners and President Khan. Just a few things we've been working on in Park Services. A couple of the projects, hillside reforestation that you've heard about. We talked already at Upper Shoal. That's on its way. We've already got the irrigation set up now. Planting should take place next month, and the final product should be by December 31st, I'm hoping. I'll have a set of start-to-finish pictures when we get all done with that one. We're also doing a rebuild of the tea house entrance. The main entrance for the tea house that goes into the gardens is quite dilapidated and needing of refurbishment. So they've knocked the entire thing. The entire thing will come down and be rebuilt back up again. We've gotten the Historical Society to help us make sure we're doing it properly, and we're in the process of getting the tiles from China right now. That's overseas. The annual stuff that we're involved with is ball field renovation to get ready for the fall ball season. That's always a big one. Everybody wants their ball fields back again after they've been out of commission for a couple of months, and they're pretty much back in now, in commission for the most part. We got a couple extra weeks from sports to get the stuff rooted in there, even though we're out of summer. Although we look like we've been out of summer for a long time with the weather we've got out there. We didn't get as much rooting as we would have liked, but all the ball fields, Stengel, Babe Herman, Dunsmore, Montrose, are all been regraded, redone, resodded, reseeded, whatever was necessary. Most of the fences have been pulled off, and they're ready for play. The last one of the bigger annuals that we go through is the holiday lighting. We're in charge of that for Grand Boulevard, and we need, we're going to be going out there probably the beginning of next month, in November, starting with the lights, get all the lights lit up, and then all the figurines will go out there probably by around Thanksgiving. So by December 1st, and I think our tree lighting is December 1st, everything will be lit in the city of Glendale. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes, sir.
With the tea house, is the Sister Cities organization also helping with that? Didn't they have something to do with that?
No, they were talking about the inside of the tea house. This is the entrance that you go through on the main arches right out by the front wall.
And the tiles, you said they're coming from China. Are they
Yes, they are.
Not Japan.
No. They're shipped from China.
And manufacturers in China.
We all do, I guess.
They outsourced.
You know, the Friends of the Shoshone, which is the organization, is a really small organization, so they're very limited in terms of what they can help with, unlike the Historic Society or some of the other organizations. It's a really small organization. So most of the work is done by us on that facility.
And we didn't really budget for the tile cost, but they're exceeding $10,000 right now for about maybe 150 tiles, 200 tiles.
Wow.
It's a special order. It was going to match the tea house itself on the entrance. So we wanted to do it the right way. So we're going to, see about matching it exactly.
Thanks. Thank you.
Item 6B, 3B, Recreation and Community Services.
President Kahn and Commissioners, we have a variety of activities, as you see, coming up with all the Halloweens we have. But if you look to page 4, some activities that are ongoing that you find in the Leisure Guide, which I'd like to bring to the attention of the families, is Family Fun Night, which is Wednesday, October 27th at Pacific Park. That's an ongoing activity that regularly occurs every month, and it's an opportunity for families to get together, parents with kids. There's games, there's activities, there's board games, and it brings the families together, and we normally will have a pretty good turnout. And they take advantage of the fact it's a chance to bring the family together. It's held at Pacific Park, and it's held once a month. Another activity that's ongoing is the next page, which is Parents' Night Out, which is November 5. Parents' Night Out has been proven to be very successful at Spar Heights. It's not just for parents who want to go out and drop their kids off to some fun activities, but it's an opportunity for parents to spend the night together and enjoy the evening till 11 o'clock. They can drop their kids off at Spar Heights Community Center, and the kids have a great time. We've had all kinds of accolades regarding the program, and it continues to grow here and there, and we have parents from time to time, every 2-3 months, will take advantage of the program. So it gives parents a chance to have a free evening for themselves. And then if you look on the last page, something new and different, November 13th, a Saturday safari at the Shambhala Preserve. This is an excursion for at the Adult Recreation Center. From time to time, they offer various types of excursions to different events in the Southland. Julianne and Savag are extremely creative, and they have discovered a number of different types of activities and excursions that they think they can begin to offer to the entire community. This is one of those that is going to be starting as a senior activity and eventually could progress to open it up to families, open it up to communities. So we're going to start moving in that direction because there's a lot of terrific places to go in the Southland, and sometimes people are vehicle challenged and can't get there as a group, but if they go with a couple families, they can take the bus and take advantage of seeing some different places they wouldn't think of. And this is one of those that's going to be new and upcoming on our list of where we're going to go and what we're going to go see in the Southland. That's it. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
6B3C, CIP projects.
Yeah, we've got. Third one down? President Sharkey, members of the commission.
You did the same thing.
You did.
Thank you very much. What's next?
Okay. President Kahn, members of the
Should use
commission.
that gavel a little bit more.
And Commissioner Sharkey. We're going to give you just a brief run through on a few of the capital projects that we're working on. You can get the next slide. Just show you here. Can I borrow?
Here's one right there.
Oh, right there. I just hit it here.
Yes.
So here's the rear section of the ARC that was recently completed. And then here you can see on Phase 1B, this is the park portion to the west of the ARC building, and we are tearing down some of the old structures that are there, clearing the site, and this is the area of the park portion of the ARC, about 1 3/4 acres in total. So we're currently in design on that piece, and it's really a design build. So we're doing the rough grading right now. We're trying to coordinate with the redevelopment agency for the passageway project that goes between the ARC and the library. We'll be putting in new lawn, new trees, benches, park lighting, irrigation, things of that nature, but not a lot of, some walkways, but not a lot of other improvements in that portion. So it's a fairly good piece of land, about 1 3/4 acres. So that's the ARC. Griffith Manor Park, there is a number of mature trees in this park. So the first thing that we did was trim all the trees throughout the entire park, about a $20,000 cost on tree trimming. And they really look pretty terrific at this point. There are a couple of trees. Okay, we're not going to move. You can see some of the brush that's being cleared now, and that has really let in a lot of daylight. That park was pretty dark and a little bit scary prior to the trimming. We also determined that a couple of the trees were diseased and were not going to be safe to keep in the park, and so those were removed. The one large maple tree that had been boxed, you can see the crane that was needed to pick that box up and to plant that tree. That tree has been successfully planted in the park. I'm sorry?
Magnolia tree.
Magnolia, yeah.
You said maple.
I said maple? Yeah. I was ahead of myself. Maple Park is the next thing I wanted to tell you about. Thanks for catching that, though.
You still think Dottie's the president? So.
Yeah, really.
So Maple Park is really going well. The construction there, you can see this is some of the earthwork, getting the elevator shaft in, foundations and stem walls. So this is an older picture. I didn't have any pictures from the last couple of weeks. These walls are now 10, 12 feet high, and the interior improvements are moving along at the same pace. So this project is on schedule, on pace to be completed and open by April of next year. So we'll have a dedication ceremony next spring for Maple Park. And then the Dugmasian Barn you'd heard about earlier from Mark with the grant funding. This is the seismic retrofit, and you can see in the center of the building this beam was a temporary measure that was installed several years ago to help create a diaphragm for the building and hold it together since it's unreinforced masonry. That'll come off, and then all of the seismic improvements will be interior to the building. Concrete buttresses, it'll get a new roof, and that new roof will act much like a lid on a cardboard box. If you've think of a cardboard box, when it doesn't have the lid, the box flexes. When you put the lid on, then the box has a lot more stability. It causes the walls to act together and act like a diaphragm. And as the building moves, then it moves in unison, and that's what gives it its structural integrity. So that'll be the first part of this. We have an application in for grant funding that Mark worked on for the Nature Center, about a little over $2 million, and that would include all the interior improvements, bathrooms, floors, HVAC, and then all the devising walls that would make it usable as a state-of-the-art nature center. So hopefully we'll hear something about that grant in December. And this will be really one of the mainstays of the park naturalist program, along with Brand Park and Pacific Edison, where we really focus on activating the park naturalist program, developing a docent program for both Brand and the Duke, and then collaborating with the schools to bring the kids up for park nature programming for their fourth grade curriculum, science, biology, geology, Friends of the Park. We're also looking at creating a native plant nursery up at the Duke, and we want to start teaching classes on native planting for the community, and also have a nursery that we can use to grow our own native plants to plant in our parks. So. And with all of that, creating the docent program within the community for retired folks, for kids doing their school service or scouting projects, and really build a constituency for the parks through this program. So this will be one of the anchors of that program. Here's, speaking of that, here is our trail building program. And this is some of the work that's just been completed up at the Duke. A lot of the trails were washed out. Some were completely destroyed and had to be rerouted. So as we rebuild these trails, there's a lot of usage of rock, and you can see it in the lower portion and upper portion of the photos. And the rock is used for two purposes. One, to provide stability to the trail. The second, to redirect the water flow so that in the event that we have the heavy rains, they don't wash out these trails again. At least that's the plan. We'll see if Mother Nature cooperates. Pacific Park Pool, we have very good news on Pacific Park Pool. We closed our bids on that the other day, and we are ready to award a bid on November 2nd. We haven't announced a bid determination yet, but we have 4 bids. We have 2 bids that are very competitive. Both are about 10% under the engineer's estimate, coming in around $3.5 million for construction hard cost. Now, we still have other costs for permit fees, for contingency, engineering, project management, and all of that, but we've got good competitive numbers, 10% below the estimate. On other projects, we've been seeing the bids at up to 30%, primarily 15 to 20% below estimate. This is a little higher, and the reason for that is twofold. This is specialty work with the community pool, so it reduces the number of contractors qualified to bid on this kind of work. The second piece is we put them on a very tight schedule, and we are not allowing any time extensions, and we have increased the penalty for not completing on time. So we're going to have this pool open by June 1st. Our target date right now is May 13th to complete work, get staff in, and open the doors on June 1st for kids in the community to use the pool. So that'll be opening in June. Maple will open in April. The barn will be done in December, and Griffith Manor will be done in February. So you'll have a busy spring of ribbon cutting, President Kahn.
Dave, Griffith Manor will be done this February, 2011.
Yes.
So that'll be the first project done.
That'll be the first one done. And this is Maryland Avenue Park. We've submitted a grant application for this. We expect to hear something on this in November. We were supposed to hear in October, but now it looks like it'll be November. We have some funding for this currently. We're hoping to be able to shift funding around and then leverage that into another project in the southern portion of the city. So this is about a $2 million project. Maryland Avenue Park is at Garfield, or between Garfield and Windsor, one block east of Brand Boulevard. The Pacific BMW dealership is right in front of it in terms of having a good landmark for it. That's the end of the PowerPoint portion. I would quickly
Dave, let me just, if I can add on the Maryland, Jess and I were talking, on the Maryland site, we did apply for Prop 84 funds. If that doesn't come through, we do have CDBG money that we can complete that project with.
To fill that 1.2 or 1.8, whatever it was.
Yes.
So those are the ones that are under construction and about to start. Riverwalk is also in plan check. We are simultaneously in plan check. This is a record for us. We are in plan check with the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, Caltrans, the Army Corps of Engineers, LA Flood Control, and the City of Glendale on this project all at one time. We hope to be out in about 3 weeks.
Wow.
So we will see. That's phase one of Riverwalk. Phase two is the connection between phases 1 and 2, actually. It's a little bridge over the culvert. And then phase 3 is the bridge from Glendale into Griffith Park, which we don't have funding for, but we have a lot of interest in. So we continue to move forward with that as a concept level plan. Brand Park will be taking a report to council on fencing and security improvements for Brandon Car Park. That'll go on November 2nd. Larry Moss and Associates will be the design architects, and that'll be for fencing Car Park and then providing new gates and some minor fencing at the entry to Brand Park. So 2 very different projects, but the design consultant will be the same. Stengel Field, we have a wood bat league that I think most of you have heard about from Mr. Chapshin. They have a number of improvements that they've asked for, so we're working with the recreation staff and the maintenance staff to come up with a schedule for that and then identify the sequence for making those improvements without interruption to the use of the field by all the current user groups. So we'll have all that wrapped up by May of next year. Central Park Passageway is the passageway between the library and between the ARC. The redevelopment agency is the lead on that. We've been working in collaboration with them to ensure that the improvements that we do at the ARC Park fit with the improvements they're planning for with the passageway. And then in turn that has to fit with the improvements for the central library. That's going to undergo a major renovation, reorientation of their entry points. Glendale High Tennis Courts, we are still in plan check with the State Department of Architects, or DSA, Department of State Architect, and the school district. We were ready to go, and they decided that they would not allow the temporary, or not temporary, but the prefab bathrooms that we had talked with them about in the beginning. So that sent us into a whole redesign process, which caused us to miss the summer schedule. School district would prefer that we don't do the work during the school year when the tennis team needs the field or the tennis courts. So we'll be coming back and doing that work probably in the summer, and we should be out of plan check with DSA here in the next 6 or 10 weeks. So that's the tennis courts. Environmental planning and concept design. We are in process right now on our EIR on Columbus Soccer Field. We'll have what we call a screen check EIR here next month. That's the draft of the draft, if you will. And that then goes to all the different departments involved in reviewing it. We'll re-edit and analyze for accuracy. Once we're sure that's right, then we'll let the draft EIR go to the community and to the public for a 45 to 60-day comment period. We should finalize the EIR probably January, February at the latest. And once that's done, we can move forward with design of the Columbus soccer field at Columbus Elementary School. Site A EIR, the planning department's recruiting a EIR consultant to do that work, so we're working with them on that. The campground planning grant, we are currently analyzing sites. We've identified 4 potential sites for overnight campgrounds, so we should have that grant wrapped up probably in December, January at the latest. The Verdugo Adobe bathroom project, this is one that just recently came up. The tentative plan is to convert the existing garage, which is not original to the Adobe, as you probably would guess, into a bathroom facility that's ADA compliant. So we're just starting on that. Rockhaven is in a maintenance mode, although there's some significant roofing work that needs to be done there to prevent further deterioration of those buildings. And then, as many of you know, Glorieta Park Playground was vandalized and burnt down, so we're getting costs to replace that, and we'll be doing that. And then we have traffic improvements at Civic Auditorium, and then a long list of future projects that don't currently have funding. So that is my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission members or the commission president, Mr. Khan, may have.
It's too late.
Go ahead. First of all, it sounds from that list that you have, you're planning for long-term employment, I hope. It sounds like you have a lot of work on your plate. Not so much a comment about anything that you said, but one of the things that came up in your presentation reminded me to just congratulate George and the department on the two projects that came up to us today, Glendale Rocks and the Party on the Go. I think that's a very, very creative way of getting some extra money in the department. And we were talking about at the ARC putting out benches and things. Have we looked into, you know, the little plaques that go on the benches, let service clubs and individuals, you know, buy a bench in honor of, you know,
sure,
somebody, you know, sort of like what the arbor, we do with the trees. The trees are planted in honor of people.
Sure.
That may be another thing to look at, George.
Yeah, we can look at it. I know in prior years there was a policy against that type of thing. We had people who wanted to place plaques at the benches for people who had passed away, and prior to me coming on board, the policy of this department was not to allow those type of things, but we certainly can look at small plaques. If
Yeah, you know, the ones that are in the center of the the back of the bench, you know, on either the inside or the outside of the bench.
Right.
It's just, you know, it's one more source.
Sure.
That's all.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
President Khan.
6B3D, Workforce Development.
Don, I don't know if Don has anything, or if you have any questions. Don, do you have anything to present at this point? Okay. If there's any questions, Don can take.
Nope. Okay. Do we have anything else?
Item 7, written communications, but we don't have any.
That's it? I'm sorry. What was your name again?
More apologies, Dave?
I'm just kidding.
Sure you are.
Just wanted to mention what an excellent job the new Parks Commission president is doing.
Thank you. Go on.
Actually, I do have one thing. Hagab just left. I wanted to say that my neighbor, I noticed he tore down his gazebo and has all this stuff going on. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Have you been by the Adult Recreation Center?" He said, "It's great, the outside." He said, "I'm trying to duplicate that." And my son Hagab just left. He missed it. I'll have to tell him. So that was quite a compliment to our Adult Recreation Center. And that's it.
So we are adjourned. Thank you.
Is this something we're supposed to sign?